Hello, everyone. Hi, Bejanae.
Hey, Dr. Houston, how are you doing today?
I am doing well.
Good, good. Are you excited and ready for the weekend on this, what do they call it, pre-Friday Eve? Are you Friday Eve?
Yes, I am. And last week I was on spring break, so
Fun.
um,
I'm so
yes,
jealous. I'm so jealous. Did you do anything exciting?
we did go to Atlanta and to Detroit, so we had a really good time.
Nice, 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 nice. And a great way to round out the month of April, right?
Definitely. And thank you all for joining us. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston, co founder of Create and Educate, where we help authors and anyone, a speaker. If you have something to offer schools, we help you to connect better with schools because I'm a veteran educator. And my grant guru joining us in the Power of Collaboration room, Miss Bejanae. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey everybody, I'm Bejanae Kareem. I am the grant guru, educator as well, and equity advocate. And so I'm excited to always to be able to collaborate because we're better together. And so similar to Dr. Houston, have been a long-term educator, and we support helping to create innovative learning spaces and amplifying education equity. And most of the time we do that through STEAM education, so integrated learning, but also grant writing support. So we help others learn how to tap into grants, understand the science of grant writing to help support educational programs. So definitely want to give away some tips and some tricks tonight for the featured guest authors that we have.
Definitely. And the grants really are helpful. So I'm glad you're with us. And we are honoring National Poetry Month. So we're honoring two poets that are joining us today. They're going to tell us about their work and what, inspired them to write poetry. So I'm going to bring them up and we're going to let them tell us a little bit about themselves and what they have to offer. We're going to start with Miss Zipporah Israel.
Hi, how y'all
Hey,
doing
hey,
today?
beautiful lady, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Busy day, but I am doing better today, right
All
now.
right, and it's almost Friday. It's almost
Yes,
Friday.
yes. Thank God for Fridays, right?
Okay,
Yes,
excellent, excellent. Give us just a 30-second intro bio to who is Zipporah Israel. What makes Zipporah Israel a poet?
Okay. Well, my name is Support Israel, and I am from Detroit, Michigan. I think I heard you actually say you visited there, but I'm
I
from
was just
Detroit.
there.
I'm from Detroit, and I am actually very excited that I am a part of this show because um, me growing up, I've always wanted to be an inspiration to people and always, have something positive to say. So I chose the route of writing um, the positive thoughts, things that if I can't tell someone it, they can actually at least read it and it hopefully it inspires them. So that's what I'm here today.
All right, we love that. And we can't wait to hear more about your origin story as well as about your books that you have on poetry. So stay tuned. You're going to hear more from Zipporah in just a second. And who is our second guest, Dr. Houston?
We have Miss Nelson with us. How are you? Make sure she can hear us. We we can't hear you.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, great, great. Yeah,
Sharonica, same thing for you. We're excited to have you on in celebration of authors as well as Poetry Month. So give us a
okay.
30-second bio on what makes Sharonica a poet.
All right. Well, I am Dr. Sharonica Nelson, and I am an author, poet, researcher. I am a wife and a mommy. I'm an educator. I'm a long-term educator. I got to steal your phrase. I've been in education, and I'm in it for the long haul. My expertise is in literacy and early urban education, and so one thing that makes me tick is just words. I love words. For me, when I indulge myself in poetry, it just takes me to another place. And so when I sit down to write my own poetry, it's like putting together a puzzle for me. It's brain work for me. So I just love words. I love what you can do with words. I love the feelings that you can portray with words. I love how sometimes just words can just make everything better. I'm just a lover of words and putting them together and seeing what I can create. So that's it about me.
Well, that is awesome. And I actually was not a fan of poetry until I received a book from one of the authors that we work with. My partner, Tammy Taylor, and I, we found when we were trying to improve literacy and reading in our schools, when we started connecting our students with more culturally relevant literature, that they were able to connect to the text better. They became more interested in reading. And that was a natural progression in the right direction to improving our report card grade levels, 2 and 3 report cards, respectively, for us. She was at an elementary school and I was at a middle school. But what I noticed about poetry, and I started to like it myself, was that when you have students who struggle with reading, they're able to really finish something and feel accomplished, and it gives them that boost of confidence. With them, even if they are struggling with some of the words, the fact that they were able to finish the poem and you can talk about it and discuss it with them without it being like a chapter book or a novel really helps them. Because one of the things that we know, especially with you being in education, struggling readers struggle with their confidence. So we have to give them those opportunities to be successful with something. And once they are successful, that has, given them a little bit of confidence to say, well, hey, I can do this. Because I'm at the secondary level. And when you have children who are in middle school and have made it to high school and are still struggling with reading, it really impacts them, and they start to just, check out. I don't want to do this. I'm not good at it. How many more years do we need to prove this? So giving them those opportunities to be successful is so important.
Absolutely. I loved hearing that. Great explanation.
And same for me, like the flowery poetry. I'm really like not a figurative person at all, but you're so right. There are poems that really hit you
Mm-hmm.
at your core. You could tap into, and it really resonates with you. So the fact that you both are able to take language and connect with people in that kind of way, I think is fascinating, completely fascinating and amazing. I do have a question for you. You want to get into the questions, Dr. Houston?
I do. So if you all could just tell us about your journeys and, how do you define yourself as a writer? And also, we definitely want to have time for you all, if you have some of your excerpts of your poems, to read a piece for us.
Zipporah, let's start off with you. Tell us about yourself as a writer.
Okay, well, me as a writer, for one, that's one of my favorite subjects from school. So with writing and math, it was like hand in hand. I love to just sit down and jot down thoughts, and not hold them in. So a lot of times when I start writing, I just start to, think of things. Like I said before, I'm an inspirational person. So I love to write down positive things. So with me writing, it just fell easily to just be able to, whatever was going on in my head, write it out. And a lot of times when I wrote down things, I started to write down things that I wanted to happen into my life, more so, not just, and it it just was like, well, maybe if I write it down into a book form, like write the positive thoughts and put them into where my writing becomes more easier for, because I always want to be easier for kids. That's my whole objective of writing down, so it's not so hard for a child to be able to pick up and read it and understand it. So for me, I actually wrote down an affirmational journal. that actually assist with helping young girls and even boys. But what I have focused on is the girls to be able to read very easily about positive affirmations, and empowering themselves to be, or to feel, I should say, better about themselves, giving a boost of self-esteem and confidence, and knowing that they're beautiful and things like that, and just having the means to understand, like, you're pretty, and not just from the outside but in the inside. So I just start writing a lot, and I actually start really getting into writing during the pandemic. Like, that's when I was like, you know what, it it gave me that thought to say, you know what, I always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to be able to, if I can't reach them, for instance, my background is not being in school. My background is in entrepreneurship and hair braiding. So I was like, well, I'm always, wanting to be an inspiration. I'm braiding their hair, but what is that going to help as far as the education part? Because that, to me, it's easy for you to make somebody look pretty, but what about making how they feel inside? Some people might,
Love that.
be looking and say, oh well, I don't feel like I am, but everybody else looking like, well, you're very beautiful. So it has to change somewhere. I think, like I said, with what I write so simple that even, like I said, a child is like, oh, okay, I can understand it. And that's where I, started to write.
I love, love, love that. You mentioned for girls and for boys. Is there a particular age range, or is it pretty much your affirmations, your book of affirmations are great for all audiences?
Yes. So the book right now that I have out is called I'm Pretty Positive and Unique. And it is strictly for girls 6 and up to about the age of 12, 13. But I am in the process of writing something for boys, and that's more on the lines of poetry,
Mhm.
because I believe with poetry, it's on the lines of rap. Like, it's like and then that's what boys, to me, I don't know. It's just, I'm not saying that girls don't either, but it's just, for some reason, I have 3 boys. So they love things that flow. And with
Mhm.
me, poetry flows. So I'm actually in the process of writing more on with, for the boys, a poetry setting.
So you have a little inside scoop there on your background research for your next book. I love to hear that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that, absolutely. And
Yeah.
similar to you, I think I was also inspired in the pandemic. Like, I don't consider myself a writer. I feel like I'm better at an editor, like polishing things. But
Hmm.
it's like, hey, I'm here, right?
Yeah.
We're all here at the house. Like, go ahead and
Yeah.
crank out this book that have been sitting in the back of my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
So happy to hear we use that, what I call quarantine creativity,
Yes.
to be able
Yeah.
to share with the world. That's amazing. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Absolutely.
And I want to pass it over to Sharonica. Sharonica, how about yourself? Tell us about your journey and how would you describe yourself, as an author and your work of poetry.
All right. So, a little bit about my journey is that I started writing poetry when I was in like middle school, going through that growing up and feeling self-conscious about yourself and not feeling like I could really explain my feelings. And so I started to put it down on paper. And I can remember having notebooks on top of notebooks, and they were just full of poetry. And so I had a teacher who encouraged me to get into this poetry contest at the school. And I actually won. It was like a little trophy. It was a certificate. I think it was like $100 or something. And
Wow.
so from that point, I really felt like I had something. And then in high school, I was the editor of our literary magazine where students submitted their poetry and their other pieces, creative writing pieces. And so I served as the editor. And so I went on to in college. When I got to college, I kind of stepped back from the poetry and the creative writing and just really got more focused on my schoolwork because of course, being a college student, it's just a lot of writing. And I was a secondary English education major, and then I got a master's in English. So it was just a whole lot of writing
Mhm.
of various types, and poetry was just not one of them. So I kind of had to choose. And so it wasn't until, again, like what Zipporah just said, the pandemic came. And I will share that I lost my grandmother. She died
Sorry.
alone in the hospital. She actually passed away from COVID.
Mm.
And I mean, it was tough. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to endure. My grandmother and I were very close. So to not be able to share those last moments with her, it just took me back to a place in, I guess, my adolescence and my coming of age where I felt like nobody understood how I felt. So I had to get it out some kind of way. And so it just, her passing kind of reignited my passion, my desire to put my words out there. And mainly because I knew that I wasn't the only one going through that. I mean, there are millions of people who lost people, loved ones in that way. And so I felt that it was a perfect time for me to connect. The title of my book is Unapologetic, a poetry collection. And it is about basically my coming of age as a young Black woman in America, the things that we struggle with, that we face. I hit a lot on social injustice and just Black female everydayness, the things that we go through that women of other races and cultures really don't even have to think about, simply because of race. So I talk a lot about everything dealing with social injustice, to love and to my desires, my inner thoughts, just everything. And of course, a huge portion of the book is dedicated to her. There are a couple of pieces that I wrote for her and for Black grandmothers in general, because in our culture, we know how we feel about a grandmother and what they give to the community and to the culture. So, and at the end of my poetry book, what kind of sets mine aside is I actually had I put in there sort of reflection questions to get you to think about the pieces as you read them and to get you to think and write. Because I believe that if my words have inspired you to feel and to just be in those feelings, then write about it. Write about how you feel. Write about your experiences. And so I'm a little proud of my passion project. And I do have another book coming out. It's called Daydreaming.
Mhm.
And that's going to come out. I'm trying to get it out by Juneteenth. So we'll see.
I love that. I love that. And the fact that you're inspiring future writers as well. I wish I had you for in my classroom as a teacher.
Hey, listen, hey, I was one of those teachers. I was gung ho about writing. They hated my class in the beginning, but by the end, once they saw what I could pull out of them in terms of
Mhm.
writing, they loved it. They did, and parents loved it. We want our child to be in Dr. Nelson class because she gonna make them write. I was
That's
serious about it.
awesome.
Thank you for letting me share that, though.
Oh, thank you for joining us. And you ladies both have great stories that definitely will help someone. And a lot of the things that you shared about your losing your grandmother and just loss. So many people have lost people during the pandemic. So many children as well, at very young ages. So your books and what you have are things that definitely are things students can connect to. And that's one of the reasons that Create and Educate, that's a part of what we do. We provide resources to educators, our email list of educators that we work with and principals that we're connected with, and our educator groups that we're a part of. And we also show authors how to connect what you have to what's happening in schools. Zipporah, what you talked about with the affirmations for girls, social and emotional learning is definitely something that is really big in schools right now, and making sure that children are self-aware. So positive affirmations really helps them build that self-love that a lot of our young ladies are missing. And it teaches them how to do that, like you said, that self-esteem. So all of that would definitely be very helpful. Ladies, what is the best tip that you feel like you can provide to other aspiring authors or authors who have written books but maybe not have done a good job of marketing them? What would be your best piece of advice? And we'll start with you this time, Dr. Nelson, and then we'll go to Zipporah.
I would say honestly, be your biggest supporter. I think sometimes we think that people are just supposed to know that we've done things, but we have
Mhm.
to be our own advocate and be unafraid to share and ask people to repost and to reshare and to just put our words out there, even creatively. And so
Mm.
that's I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give. Do not be afraid to put it out there and remind people that it's out there.
Thank you. And Zipporah?
And my bit of advice will be to don't quit, don't give up. Just, I don't care if it takes every day, just write down a paragraph. Sometimes distractions can get in the way of completing the project or completing your book or completing the writing. And you might get froze or you might get stuck or you might be like, okay, um, you know, okay, I got this part, but then what's next? I feel like taking a little moment to just breathe and say, okay, I'll start again the next day. Just don't give up.
Mhm.
Complete the project, complete the book. And once you do, even if you don't have someone that's around you to publish it or get it out there on Amazon. My book is actually on Amazon and on my website. If you
Mm.
do not have it out there, go, the resources are there to getting it out there. There's a lot of groups inside of Facebook. I feel like social media is one of the biggest places to find people that can assist you into completing and publishing. So I would definitely say one, that just don't give up. Just continue and put it out there. And once it's out there, you have no idea how many people that it will help. Um, depends on what it is that putting out there. It's going to definitely help.
Definitely. And good evening to everyone who's joining us. And Principal Kafele is a person that has definitely sold lots of books. So I'm sure he has some great advice as well about book publishing. So thank you, ladies, for sharing that. And before we get to this last question that Ms. Hawsley has about the do's and don'ts of publishing and what you've learned, I'm gonna allow Bejanae is going to share. There is different ways that we can help get your books into schools and maybe even different um, organizations through grants. One of the things that she specializes in is grants, and I specialize in creating, educating, helping you all connect with schools and school activities. So, Bejanae, what are some of the grant tips that you want to give us?
Yeah, I think you touched on it earlier. So, since it sounds like both of you lovely ladies have a way with words, inspiring and connecting with others, whether it's through the affirmations or through the poetry, social emotional learning is very key, significant, important, and hot right now in schools in helping students as they are recovering from the pandemic, during the pandemic, coming back to school. And so that is also a key word that people are getting behind and funding for grant opportunities. So I would highly recommend searching for social emotional learning (SEL), literacy, or even like educational based grants that you could use to pay and cover for your book costs, that so that you can get them into schools. And so at BK International Education Consultancy, as I said, our mission is to increase student access to innovative education, whether it's SEL, whether it's STEM, whether it's literacy, whatever it is, to help them along their journey to increase, to have positive outcomes as children, regardless of what zip code they're in, right, or what their socioeconomic status and background is. And we not only help educators, but we also help authors, because many of them are wanting to get into schools and help
Mhm.
support the education system, the learning environment. And so we offer self-paced grant writing courses, as well as instructor-led courses. We also have an exclusive Facebook group that specifically shares funding opportunities. We unpack where to find funding, and how to do it at a low cost, because there are some sites that you have to pay to find out about grants. And we also have a book, a self-published book on Amazon called 12 Quick Steps to Writing Winning Classroom Grants, so that you as authors don't have to pay out of pocket or have to donate for free. You can get those resources. Thank you, Dr. Houston. Get those books in the hands of kids, even the teachers, because Teacher Appreciation Week, a month and week is coming up in May,
Mhm.
to get them in the hands of schools, to help, again, just help further support social emotional learning as well as literacy. And so I also want to tag and plug, not only does my course help authors and other educators increase their school libraries, and what's accessed there that's culturally relevant and connected for students and teachers. But Dr. Houston and Tammy have also created a great course as well that will also show you how to get it specifically in the schools, what you need to do. So you have the funding, and then you have the know-how to get your books in the schools that increase readership, that increase impact, and also essentially it can increase sales as well. So Dr. Houston, please share with them about your modules on how to get the books in the schools, right? Because that's what we want to know.
Definitely. And basically, our workbook, the free workbook that comes with the modules, shows you how to connect your book to different events. Like you said, Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up. And even if your poetry or your book is not for children, one thing that principals do, we buy gifts for teachers. We buy gifts for everybody that's in the building, to build that morale. When it's different things coming up throughout the year, we show you how to connect what you have to offer to those things, or even use it as a speaking piece to come and motivate students, authors visits, different things like that. One of the things that we noticed as Tammy and I were connecting more independent authors with the schools is that students were able to connect with what they had to offer a lot better than some of the traditional things that we were using from the catalogs, or people that a lot of times in education, we're traditionalists. So, we invite the same people every year, and, the kids get used to some of those messages, and it starts coming in one ear and going out the other one. So when they're able to see people who look like them, who they can connect with, who have stories that are similar to theirs, that matters. So that cultural relevance piece was very important. We saw how it made a difference with our students, and we took it personally to go out and continue to try to find more authors who wanted to get their books connected with schools, because we saw that there was a little bit of inequity there, where a lot of those opportunities didn't exist because the authors didn't know how to connect with the schools, or the schools didn't know about the self-published authors. So we try to provide that bridge through our program by helping you do that. And we also connect you by you being connected to us and us giving you that endorsement as well. Did you all have anything that you wanted to? And we only have about 3 minutes left.
A short excerpt that you want to share from your book to kind of give them a little taste, a little teaser, not the whole thing, but just a little bit.
If I can go just a little bit, for me, it's almost similar to what she was saying. My affirmation is more so where you say, I'm very attractive, I'm beautiful the way I am. And then it's actually a spot that you write down, because it's not just an affirmational book, but it's a journal as well. So for where the girls can actually write down and journalize their true feelings, and even if or just repeat the
You have
affirmation.
the book right there? You have
Yeah,
the book
I
right
do.
there? Show
Yes,
it. Show that book.
So yes, the book
Excellent.
right
Yeah.
here. Like I said, it is on Amazon. It's an easy read. Um,
And I
and
put
I
the
say
information in the comments.
yes, it's easy read to be able to maybe about, I want to say about 15 pages, if that.
Okay.
So like I said, it's very easy, and it just has on each page is a different affirmation, and then a place for the young lady to journalize her thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And Dr. Nelson?
Hey, can y'all still hear me?
We can.
Okay, so I'll share an excerpt. This one is dedicated to our new Supreme Court Justice. Something that I wrote for her, and I'll just do a quick excerpt, but it's entitled Confirmed. She was already confirmed before they tallied the count, already confirmed before the debate debacles, already confirmed before they summoned her LSATs, already confirmed when she was nominated. The hearing was for formality because God had already confirmed her, prepared her, anointed her for such a time as this. Supreme. She was already supreme, birthed with a name full of meaning, something for her to look up to, someone for her to become, and like her name, beautiful, black, bold, destined to be supreme, and aspiring to the highest heights of life.
Oh, I think we lost her sound, but I love that.
Yes. I felt that. I felt that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll share by the end. I go into how basically she is the Supreme Court justice. She was confirmed, but she has also confirmed girls who look just like her. So I kind of
Mm.
flesh that out in the end.
I love that. And basically how what your message and Sephorah's message is kind of going together with giving young ladies that confirmation and that self-esteem. I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if you are interested in the books, I have placed all of the information of where to purchase the books from in the comments. So please support these authors. And if you are an author or an aspiring author and you are wanting to learn how to get your books connected with schools, contact me. And if you're interested in trying to get grants in order to get your books wherever you would like to get them in schools or other areas, our grant guru is Miss Bejanae Kareem. So I am Dr. Sheka Houston. Thank you all for joining us on the Power of Collaboration. And we'll be back with our next two authors in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Thank you.
Thank you.